Hey guys, Joe from American Trucks, and today I'm going to be reviewing and installing the DV8 off-road recovery front bumper, fitting all 18 and newer F-150s, excluding the Raptors. A bumper like this is going to be perfect for the F-150 owner who's looking to get some serious utility out of the front end of their truck with a winch-capable front bumper that's still budget-friendly. If you've ever taken your truck off-roading, you know it can take some serious abuse from time to time, but this bumper is built to stand up to it. It's made out of 3/16 and 1/4 inch cold rolled steel and features a 2-stage black powder coating, which not only adds to the looks, but serves as a layer of protection from the elements as well. One thing I mentioned earlier is just how much utility is going to come with this bumper. One of the biggest draws is the included winch plate, which supports up to a 12,500 pound winch. That's basically going to be your end-all be-all in terms of recovery tools for an F-150 that's planning on doing any off-roading. Now, if that wasn't enough for you, we also have some included D-rings here that serve as another recovery point. One thing I also really like about this one, and is also going to serve you well on the trails, are the 2 included 3-inch cube LED lights that are on either side underneath the headlights. As you can see, both of those are kind of angled outward. Now that is there for a purpose. That's to illuminate the edges of the trails exactly right in front of where your wheel would be, and they almost serve as a rock light. Now there are a couple of things I wanted to mention about our DV8 front bumper here. If your truck is optioned with adaptive cruise control, like most bumpers out there, this will not accommodate those sensors and you will lose that function. Also, if your state requires the use of a front license plate, there are no mounts integrated into the front of this bumper. Now another thing about this one that I wanted to touch on are just gonna be these gaps right here. We've adjusted this every which way possible, and we've got it to fit nice and flush against this lower portion of our front grille, but the fitment below the headlights does leave a little bit to be desired. Now with that being said, the name of the game for this one is utility. For instance, if you need to pull someone out of a ditch, you have provisions for a winch that's able to do that. If you need more recovery points, you have D-rings on either side. If you need more lighting, you have LEDs on either side. If you need this to take a hit for your truck, it's made out of solid steel. So the idea here is utility takes a front seat and a priority over the looks. If you're looking for something that's to be used as a tool on your F-150, this is the bumper for you. Pricing for this bumper is going to come in at around $1,000. Now comparing that to some of the other premier bumper brands out there that offer a similar amount of utility, that really is a deal. Some of them even cost double, even triple the price, and offer the same amount of options. Now also included in the $1,000 price tag for this one is going to be DV8's no hassle 3-year warranty. Install for this is going to be a 2 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter. Should only take you a couple hours to get this hooked up to your truck. Overall, it is a pretty easy process. The only thing I did want to say is that the LEDs are an open-ended pigtail, so that is up to you where you want to wire those into your truck. But there's no modification required otherwise, and this can be installed with nothing but basic hand tools. So without any further ado, let me show you how it's done. Tools required for this install are going to be an impact or two, a couple extensions, this Allen key, which does come included in the kit, wire strippers, wire cutters, needle nose pliers. The lights in this kit are open-ended pigtails, so you better have some connectors on hand. I used a butt connector like this one, 15, 18, and 21 millimeter sockets, an 18 millimeter wrench, a ratcheting one helps a ton, a 13 millimeter wrench, and a trim panel removal tool. So first things first, we have to get our factory front bumper out of the way. That is going to be pretty easy. We're gonna start on the back side by unclipping our fog lights on either side and undoing a 21 millimeter nut. Then we're gonna jump back up front and remove these flat portions of the front lower grille right here. That'll allow us access to the other 2 21 millimeter nuts on either side. We're gonna remove those and then the whole front bumper should slide right off the truck. Starting with the fog lights, you can push down on the 2 upward facing prongs and that should release the harness. Same thing for the other side. Now right here, there is one Christmas tree clip on either side holding this harness onto the bumper. I'm gonna use a trim panel removal tool to get those out of the way. Now right toward the inside of those Christmas tree clips is going to be a 21 millimeter nut. We're gonna remove both of those on either side. Next, we move back around to the front. These flat portions of the lower grille are going to need to be removed. I'm going to use a plastic trim panel removal tool to get those out of the way. That's going to reveal our other 4 21mm nuts that we're going to be removing to get our bumper off the truck. So there's one last thing we have to remove, and it's the tow hooks, one on either side. We're going to be replacing those with our winch plate. In order to get those out, it's 2 15mm bolts for each tow hook. And we can pull out this nut plate as well. So we're just about ready to start installing our new DV8 bumper, but before we do, I just wanted to lay it out on the ground next to our factory bumper and point out some key improvements that our DV8 bumper is going to be making. And the name of the game with this new bumper is going to be utility. Right up front there, you see our winch plate, which can take up to a 12,500 pound winch. A winch like that is going to be the end-all be-all in terms of utility in any off-road situation. On top of that, we also have some added utility with the D-rings as well. They serve as just another added recovery point and just up the utility that much more. We also have some LEDs on the wings. Those are going to improve lighting in any dark off-road situation. It's a really nice touch from DV8 and just up the utility that much more. One of the biggest and most obvious differences between the two next to each other are going to be the added durability with this DV8. It features 3/16 inch and 1/4 inch cold rolled steel throughout its construction. Is going to be a huge upgrade over factory in terms of durability. That's then sealed in a 2-stage black powder coating, which not only serves to add to the looks, another huge benefit over the factory front bumper, but serves as a layer protection from the elements as well. So now we're gonna grab some of these pieces, head back to the truck, and start building up our new bumper. So we're gonna start with the passenger side frame bracket, and we're gonna install this using the factory 21mm nuts that we uninstalled earlier. Then we're gonna go over to the driver's side and do the same thing. Now when I tighten these down with the impact gun, I'm only gonna snug it down a little bit, enough to hold it in place, but enough to move if it needs to align itself with the other pieces. The last bolt to secure those brackets to our truck is still on our factory front bumper. We're going to have to take that off, but it's held on with a retaining clip. I'm going to use a pair of wire cutters to snip that and then get that bolt out. Then we're going to run that through and do the same thing for the driver's side. Next is going to be our winch mounting plate. That's going to get installed to the inside edge of our mounting bracket right here with the new 18mm hardware from DV8, as well as to the frame rail with the factory 15mm tow hook hardware. Now at this point, I'm just gonna run through and snug up some of that hardware just a little bit. Now at this point, everything is tightened down except the brackets to the frame. This is probably the last time I'm gonna have easy access to those 21mm nuts with the impact gun. So I'm gonna snug those up now. If we need to make adjustments later on, we should be able to get at them with a wrench. Next, you're ready to start mounting up the bumper itself. We're going to start with the middle portion. That gets secured with the 18mm hardware included in the kit from DV8. At this point, I'm gonna do my best to align this here and then tighten it down with an 18mm wrench and socket. Before we mount up the wings for our bumper here, I figured it would be a good idea to take care of the fog light mounting brackets and get those installed on the wings while we have some easy access to their mounting points. First, we're going to need the mounting bracket itself and the hardware that comes in the kit. Now this mounting bracket does have a small notch in it that's going to go forward toward the lens. With that being said, you can slide it in between the fins. So now you want to take the smaller nut included in the fog light kit and slide that down the bracket in between the fins. With that in place, you can grab the small button head bolt and feed it through the outside housing of the fog light. Then you could use gravity and the cutout in the fins to hold the nut still while you get the bolt started in it with the Allen key. Then do the same thing for the other side. And you can do the same thing for the other light as well. So now we can grab the larger bolt included in the fog light kit and feed that up through the bracket, then move it over to the wing and get it tightened down. So now we're going to align the light as best as possible and then tighten down that nut with a 13mm wrench. DV8 also gives you this adhesive backed foam. We're going to apply that to the winglet. That's just going to serve as a buffer between the wing and the center part of the bumper. Then we're going to do the same exact thing for the other side. One thing you do want to make sure of before you get this fog light all the way tightened down is to put this bolt in place, because once this is oriented in any sort of correct position, it'll be impossible later on. Then we can use the last of our 18mm hardware to get the wings bolted in place. Now we're just going to do the same thing for the other side. I'm actually going to use a ratcheting wrench. That makes things a lot easier. So our bumper is really starting to take shape. There's only two more things left for us to do, and that's to wire up the fog lights Now again, that is an open-ended pigtail harness, so you could wire that pretty much however you want. So it's a little bit tough to see underneath of our truck here. So we're gonna do this on the table. We have the sacrificial wiring harness here, so we don't have to tap into the one that's actually on our truck, but underneath you're going to find a connector just like this one. And to start our wiring here, we're just gonna grab the wire cutters and we're gonna snip that connector off. And the wiring harness is a little bit thick here, so I'm just gonna cut back some of that a little bit. So now we almost have the two positive and negative wires on the end here. We just have to cut away a little bit of the jacketing. And we can peel that off, and that's gonna reveal our positive and negative. And then we can come in here with the wire strippers. I'm just gonna pull about 1/2 inch off that positive wire. And I'm gonna do the same thing for the negative wire as well. Just to make a clean connection, I'm gonna give those a little bit of a twist. And I actually think they're a little bit too long for our butt connector here. I don't want any of that copper to stick out beyond the length of that, so I'm just gonna trim that back a hair. Now we're just gonna combine our positive to positive and the negative to negative with a butt connector. Now the colors of your wiring may vary in between year ranges for the F-150. If yours doesn't look exactly like this, it would probably be a good idea to test and find out what's positive with a multimeter or a test light. And we're gonna do the same thing with our negative wire as well. Now to really lock that in, you'd wanna hit those with a heat gun, that is heat shrink, and that will make a nice weather tight seal. Since we're only doing this for demonstration purposes, we're gonna leave it right like that. All that's left for us to do is mount up our D-rings. And that is going to do it for my review and install of the DV8 off-road recovery front bumper, fitting all 18 and newer F-150s, excluding the Raptor models. Make sure you remember to subscribe for more videos like this and all things F-150.